What's good? Thank you for stopping by to visit the channel for this upcoming game preview of LSU and Alabama. If this is your first time visiting this channel and you want to hear a different take of college football from an analytical perspective, if you haven't done so already, click that subscribe button, click the notification bell, and select all so you don't miss another video. Also, like the video and share the video. It helps this channel grow, and give me your score prediction in the comment section below, even if you agree or disagree. This game has taken a back seat to the potential top two matchup in Athens, Georgia between Tennessee and Georgia, but this is still a big game nonetheless between LSU and Alabama. Both teams have a lot going on, have a lot to play for. It is not the end. I mean, we are right down the home stretch here, especially in the battle for the SEC West to play for the SEC championship game. So without further ado, let's start with the tail of the tape of advanced metrics. So as we are looking at the tail of the tape of advanced metrics, this looks like this is going to be a high quality matchup, and that's to be expected between LSU and Alabama. Both teams have recruited extremely well over the last few years. LSU looks to be a little bit more balanced with offense and defense SP plus, ranked 27th and 20th respectively. Alabama, I mean, they're in the top 5 in both of those categories, and it looks like they hold an advantage of 3-0, unfortunately for LSU. LSU is at pushes in F+, that determines overall quality, and FEI, which determines drive efficiency. LSU is definitely a team that is underrated when it comes to being able to move the ball and finishing. Ole Miss jumped out to a 17-3 lead, and it looked like they were going to run away with this game. But if you were to look at the advanced box score, even though LSU was down in this game, you couldn't really tell. LSU had a 67% success rate, and their worst success rate was in the third quarter when they put together a measly 58% third quarter. I know. I mean, what can you do, right? But they followed that up with an 82% success rate in the fourth quarter, where they pretty much just buried Ole Miss. And this was the game where they put together a complete effort. I mean, this was quite by far the best game LSU played this year. And it looks like this is a Tampa team that, even though they have lost 2 games so far this year, you couldn't really tell, because it looks like the talent is finally taking hold. And you can tell that Brian Kelly, he's trying to put his stamp on this football team, and Jayden Daniels is playing some of the best football he has played so far. There was a couple of takeaways if you were an Alabama fan. The first takeaway was you wanted to see if the defense was, going to step up after being humiliated the week before against Tennessee, and you were able to get that. For the most part, I mean, Mississippi State couldn't really do much of anything. The new look secondary, where they inserted Eli Ricks in the opposite corner, seemed to pay some pretty big dividends for the Crimson Tide pass defense. The only other glaring issue, though, was it just felt like Alabama's offense was just not in a consistent rhythm. The offensive line couldn't get a push against Mississippi State, even though Jahmyr Gibbs did run for a touchdown, and he broke a couple of yards here and there, but it seemed like it was feast or famine. Mississippi State was extremely aggressive. I mean, they played their 3-3-5 to the best of their ability. Alabama had 36% of their runs stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage, and I don't think the offense being able to just live off of big plays, I don't think that's going to be conducive in that long stretch. So they're going to have to find a way to do better up front and be able to take the air out the ball and try to salt the game away if they're going to try to achieve some of the goals that they're trying to get this year. For all the talk about LSU and their ability to play defense, the offense seems to be much more competent. They're not the high-powered 2019 LSU offense that pretty much eviscerated everybody that she stepped on the field with them. But this is an offense that seems to have a clear idea of what the heck it is they're trying to do. From a rush offense standpoint, I mean, it starts and it ends with Jayden Daniels here. Jayden Daniels is a guy that pretty much does everything: running, throwing. You pretty much have to name this one. But if there is a concern for LSU, their offense sack rate is 112th in the country. And part of that is essentially due to Jayden Daniels. He does hold on to the ball a little bit longer than anticipated. The offensive line is very competent. 13th in the country in stuff rate and 20th in the country in offensive line yards. Alabama on the other end, 19th in stuff rate and 10th in defensive line yards. So this is where there are some pushes when LSU has the ball here. The overall edge slightly does go to Alabama. Alabama's pass defense is in the top 10. Passing downs, they're still a competent passing down defense, and sack rate, still one of the best in the country in that metric. So, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of pushes that I think even Alabama fans, when they look at this info card, I think they're a little more surprised to see that LSU's offense is much better than anticipated. When Alabama has the ball, there's a lot more purple and gold here than they were anticipating to see here. The Crimson Tide offense hasn't been hitting on all cylinders over the last few weeks. This was a type of offense that was ranked in the top 10 in offensive success rate and offensive EPA, but they're still 20th in both those metrics, which means that they are a solid offense, but not the hyper efficient, just precise offense that I think their fans were expected to have this year. It's just not been clicking on all cylinders here. And when you're going up against a team like LSU, especially when you look at the bottom three categories, sack rate, stuff rate, and defensive line yards, all favors LSU. Standard down defense, that favors LSU as well. So if you're Alabama, your ultimate concern here is the offensive line versus the LSU defensive line. And it looks like LSU's defensive line, even though they don't have Mason Smith this year and they lost him in the first game of the year, it seems like that is still going to be an advantage relative to Alabama's offensive line that just hasn't generated a lot of push up front. And it seems like the running backs are just essentially just doing everything just by breaking the tackles and just breaking off big gains. But at the end of the day, I don't think you can rely on just getting a lot of chunk plays. You're going to have to essentially you're going to have to find a way to move the ball down the field and do it effectively and do it efficiently. The computer model in this game has Alabama favored by roughly 11 points. Round up, it's 31-20, which is an expected score. It's giving Alabama a win probability of 78.9 compared to LSU's 21.1. Bill Connolly and his SP Plus metric has Alabama favored to win this game as well, but his win probability is at 76% as well. So it seems like we're kind of in line, but at the end of the day, these computers, they can only tell so much these days for sure. So LSU is a 12.5 point favorite at the time of recording, and in a game like this, there is definitely a path for LSU to pull off an upset for sure. And to be honest with you, it's been there all season long. And the thing about Alabama this season is that the offensive line, I think I keep saying this week after week, but the offensive line, they just got to play better. It's been perplexing seeing Alabama's offensive line just not be physical enough at the point of attack and just not control the game. I mean, with the exception of Arkansas, but Arkansas's defensive line is just not that good. Just to keep it 100% with everybody, they're not in the same level of LSU. LSU's defensive line, like I said before, even without Mason Smith, they're not exceptional, but they are solid. It's not a defensive line where you can just say whatever. This is not a pretty good offensive. This is not a pretty good line. We don't have to worry about them. they're gonna bring it on. They're gonna bring it on every down they play, and this is a matchup that I don't think favors Alabama, especially up front. And also, you're talking about going on the road at night, Tiger Stadium. I mean, that crowd is going to be lathered up and ready to go. And if you're an Alabama fan, I would not use the Tennessee game when Tennessee came into Baton Rouge and just blew the doors off of LSU. I wouldn't use that as a legitimate excuse. To think that you're going to come into this game and play extremely well. Tennessee had a lot that happened in their favor. The first thing was LSU's left side of their offensive line was completely decimated just 24 hours before the game even kicked off, and there was just a comedy of errors for LSU. A lot of turnovers, a lot of just poor mistakes, and it just compounds the issue when you play against a team like Tennessee that can just score at will. So I would not use that as a good example at all. So in a game like this, Alabama, I think they are going to struggle in this game, and they're going to have to show me a lot. I mean, the coordinators, they're going to have to show me that they can make adjustments to what the opposition is doing. And they're also going to have to show that, instead of just making adjustments to the other team, they're going to have to also dictate the game itself. And it seems as though Alabama they're doing a lot of reacting as opposed to just taking the fight to the other team. I just don't see that this year. And with the talent that they have had, this season, with everybody coming back, it's kind of disappointing for sure. So in a game like this, I think this game is going to be a lot more challenging than expected. I think LSU is going to come into this game. They're going to come in ready to play. They have a good game plan. This is kind of a game that Jayden Daniels, could, play essentially the game of his life, and Alabama could be in a fourth quarter rock fight. In this game, though, I don't particularly think Alabama is going to lose this game, but I don't think they're going to cover. I'm going to pick Alabama in this game. Bryce Young, at the end of the day, is the better quarterback between him and Jayden Daniels, in my opinion. I like number 9 for Alabama, and as long as they have number 9, they're never out of a game. So I'm going to go with Alabama to pull this one off. It's going to be a tight game to the final score of 27-20. And the defense of Alabama will make some key stops. I think they'll finally get a turnover or two and finally get in that turnover column in their favor. And Alabama will do just enough to pull this one down. LSU will fight gamely. They will fight hard for sure. There's a lot of pride in that locker room. But I think Alabama eventually, with the leadership that they have, I think they'll find a way to get this one done. And that is it for this game preview. Let me know what your thoughts are in the game in the comment section below. Give me your score prediction and tell me why your respective team is going to win the game. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give the video a like. And if you love college football as much as I do, hit that subscribe button if you want to stay updated with the latest previews and the occasional highlights. Thank you for watching, and thank you for visiting the channel.